What's going on, guys? Jomboy here. The new show that you just clicked that's about to come on, Inside Baseball, the GM Files. We have a new show, rotating cast of ex-GMs. They're going to have guests on that are current GMs, ex-players, all about inside the scoop. That's what I like. I'm a behind-the-scenes guy. I like finding out how things went down. So GM Files debuts right now. First episode about a big trade with the Braves and the Yankees that would have changed a lot if it went down. It did not. We have the player involved talking about that very thing. This is going to be coming to you every Wednesday, and then we'll clip it down, clips on socials. But every Wednesday, you're going to hear about some behind-the-scenes stuff. If you're a baseball nerd, if you love being a fake GM in the video games, if you just like hearing things and how it works, this show's for you.
We are going to kick off our first episode of the GM Files with one of our favorites and an all-star in himself, Jason Heyward of the Chicago Cubs. Jason, great to see you. Obviously, Jim Duquette, Bobby Evans. I want to kick this thing off right out of the gate. You had to act as a mini general manager let's go back to your high school days when you were going to get drafted. You know, it's an interesting backstory. Your dad played hoops at Dartmouth. Your dad's uncle played under John Wooden at UCLA. That's amazing, that whole background. And then you had the opportunity, you had a scholarship at UCLA to play there or sign with the Atlanta Braves. So your inner general manager, he had to make that decision. What was that like making that call?
You know what? I give my parents a lot of credit and a lot of respect for making me make that decision on my own. They felt like, their job was done. Obviously they're going to continue to be my parents and be, providers of advice and support. But they felt like once I got into UCLA, once I signed a letter of intent, like this next step was my choice. And don't think my uncle Kenneth Washington didn't, reach out to my dad saying, "Hey man, he needs to go to UCLA. He needs to, join the fraternity, gain some networking, all those kind of things. On top of obviously getting an education, as well added to the resume. But, for me, it was, let's see where we can go, whether it's one overall, whether it's, whatever it is. I ended up obviously signing 14th with the Braves. But when it came down to hometown team, first rounder, I feel like it's very hard to top that when it comes down to putting all the work that we put in as a family, for myself, making sacrifices. So I had to make that decision. And I think, surpassing college and going to play professional baseball was a pretty good choice.
Now, this is at a time where the Braves are, obviously, doing well, and you got a chance to join a franchise that, Bobby Cox is a manager. I mean, it's a great organization. So, we get it. In fact, we watched year after year, they scoop up some of the best talent in Georgia. I mean, I guess you've seen that too, of course.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, year after year, like you said, Bobby, like growing up in Georgia, watching them bring in hometown talent, just continue to breed, player after player. I felt like in multiple positions to where if someone was, on the business side getting ready to head out into a big free agency contract, they had a next guy up. And
right, they did.
For myself, coming in and getting drafted in 2007, they had recently Brian McCann and Jeff Francoeur, who were, kind of the head of the hometown talent. And, they wanted those guys to be a part of the franchise for a long time. And that's what Braves fans started to be accustomed to, even more so than grabbing, free agents and things like that. So to add myself into that realm of guys, it was exciting. Opportunity to play for Bobby Cox. Chipper Jones was still there, part of the franchise for me. He was like a baseball card for me, walking into the clubhouse every day. Just watching him, go through the pennants and the World Series and winning an MVP. So it was definitely a surreal moment.
Yeah, no question on that. All right, so maybe jump around a little bit. I wanted to ask you a little bit about what's going on, now. I mean, you sat there. We're going to, kick off the season soon. But watching this thing unfold and how involved you might have been with the players versus the owners in that discussion, I'm curious from your perspective, what was that like? Kind of sitting there and watching this play out, and maybe even how active you were involved.
Right. Well, for me, I tried to, if anything, get involved on just the educational side, just listen and try to hear, what was going on, and just so I can be informed. Because we have a lot of guys. We have, our own team representatives with the Cubs. We've got representatives that represent us on the executive board of the union. and so on. So I did listen in on a few of those calls, but to me, it was more just make sure I'm here, informed of what's going on, and if I had anything I wanted to voice, pass that along. But at the end of the day, in doing this for so long, since 2010 at the major league level, I just knew that some of this is going to play out how it's going to play out regardless, and it's out of our hands.
How do you look at the prospects of guys showing up here July 1st? Are you confident in your teammates being ready? You think guys have stayed ready, or you think guys are going to be way behind? This is, of course, a long lag between spring training.
Well, I think that, in all fairness, for one, you can do your best to try and be ready, myself included. And I know I've done what I've done during this time. I wanted to come out of this time, feeling better and looking better in the sense of being in shape. But we all know that once you get to baseball, you can work as hard as you want to. You're going to have that spring training, a few days where you're like, let me get my legs under me, get used to, starting and stopping, so to speak. I think that's the biggest thing that we all have to get used to. And then at the end of the day, you got to get your game timing back and speed. You got to play to get that back. So I think on a health standpoint and guys being in shape, I think we're going to see a lot of guys come in right on time and right on cue with that. But we just got to play baseball.
Yeah, good.
All right, so let's get into this because this is what we've been talking about, this GM show, the GM files. And we've had this conversation before, but to give us some more detail on this and dig in, you were with the Braves. Here's your hometown team, your first round pick. You develop your Chipper Jones, all of those things. You're wearing a Braves uni. You're with Bobby Cox, and then all of a sudden you get to the 2014 season, and you start to hear your name mentioned in trade talks in the middle of the season. And then at the end of the season, obviously you got traded to St. Louis at the end of that year. But there was another team. The New York Yankees almost got Jason Heyward. This is a blockbuster trade. Take us through what this was like.
So on the trade front, I feel like after my first year, I kind of heard rumblings of anything. I think guys are, kind of aware now on the business side that you're going to hear that. But 2014 was probably the first time it was actually going to happen. It was myself, Anderson Simmons, David Carpenter, B.J. Upton, Chris Johnson were talked about being traded to the Yankees for, I believe, Severino, Aaron Judge. I don't remember exactly who else. I mean, I know there's a list somewhere of the trade, but
Gary Sanchez.
Okay, gotcha.
Right. Ian Clarkin, Manny Benuelos, they were all prospects. This is a blockbuster deal, Jason.
This is you talk about changing the face of two franchises at the time, and obviously, right now, the future of baseball and some of those guys over there with the Yankees. In my mind, in 2014, I was like, I hear this happening. I even went as far as like, let me shave my beard and see if I'm digging the whole mustache only look. I had to because at the time, I didn't really have any say so, in the trade going down. But also at the same time, it makes you feel some form of respect, right? When a franchise like the New York Yankees is talking about making a trade for you and wanting you to be a part of their outfield, be a part of their history and what moves forward.
What's your feeling about shaving? I mean, that's a big deal. I mean, I know some guys that won't go to New York just because of that. What's your thoughts about it?
Yeah, I think with where I'm at now, this is year 11. I think if it was 1 year or 2 years that I might be able to put up with it. But if they were saying, hey, will you sign on for 8 years? I don't know if I can rock the no facial hair for 8 years in a row. Man, that'd be a tough one, man. Just from a standpoint of my hair grows so fast that would be annoying as hell every day.
You'd probably have to shave every day, right? So,
exactly.
Well, all right. So, did you talk? Now, here, you went to that point, you shaved. Mm-hmm. Did you talk about it all with Simmons and Upton? At the time about going to New York, like, were you excited about this? Like, what was your feeling with that?
No, we didn't really talk about it because we kind of had our own, I guess, situation going on there in Atlanta where that was my first time. That was my longest stretch. It was about a week and a half of games where we were eliminated. That was the longest amount of time I had played in my career at that point without knowing that I wasn't going to the playoffs. Those games didn't really mean anything essentially. So we had a new GM coming in and one was on the way out. We had new representation coming in. There were a lot of things happening. So we didn't really have time to talk about it. And then it happened in the off season. So then, of course, that offseason, I was later traded to the Cardinals. So I still haven't had that chance to sit down and talk to these guys about it.
Interesting. Were you excited to go to New York if it happened?
No, if it happened, no, definitely. I was definitely excited to go to New York. My mom being from Queens, my grandfather being from New York, her parents being from New York. and him being on the NYPD police department. Just, I had family up there and relatives. I was born in New Jersey. When I was 2, we moved down to Georgia, and I was raised there. But there was a lot of excitement around that. And like I said, that's a huge honor to be considered in a trade, especially one of that magnitude, to that franchise.
What about that short porch in right field? I mean, that's got to be looking good.
No, that would have been looking amazing. Trust me, man. Since I signed at Wrigley, you don't realize, until you play there every day. You see that 353 down the right field line. You miss a lot of home runs by about 20 feet that you could be gaining back easily in Yankee Stadium. And then from a defensive standpoint, the one time I played there, I'm in right field thinking I'm playing short second base or deep second base, that I can throw somebody out from right field at home plate with ease. So it would have been a risk reward, but
no doubt.
Hitting as a lefty would definitely be awesome there.
Yeah, no question.
Now, when you went to the Cardinals, so oftentimes and Jim, you can speak to this too. I mean, I see the Cardinals so oftentimes they make deals like this last year of a guy's contract, and then they multi-year him. I mean, Goldschmidt, the most recent example of that.
Mm-hmm.
Did you go into that season with a mindset that it's going to take a lot to get me to sign an extension rather than test the market? Is that kind of your mindset or your agent's mindset?
Well, my agent and I, our mindset was, for one, it took being on the same page. And fortunately, I'm his first client, and vice versa. So it was cool just kind of going through that together, as friends and family. But I just wanted to go play baseball. I didn't want to focus on that and have that be the focal point of my season, especially going into a new clubhouse and into a clubhouse that has so much respect. And the goal there is to try and make it to the postseason and try and win a World Series, which St. Louis has done a lot of in their history. So when it came to about the All-Star break that year, they kind of said, hey, we're going to respect you guys' wishes. We don't really want to talk about it or make you any offers, but we would like Jason to be here for long term. I took that as even more signs of respect, but I still knew that our team was heating up and we had a great opportunity in a fun, tough division to get to the postseason and make something happen beyond that. So I didn't want to go into the season thinking about myself, thinking about my numbers. I let winning take all the attention and let the rest take care of itself.
I love that. All right, so take us through this part, because Bobby and I have been on the recruiting side, trying to recruit a free agent to our team. You were being recruited. You go into that free agent. You're the Cardinals, the Cubs. You've got the Nationals. You got Dusty Baker chasing you, trying to get you to be a national. Tell us what that's all about.
So that was eye-opening experience, because it was the first time I had a choice to choose where I worked. Right. And, 3 great options there. And of course, St. Louis, where I was, Chicago up and coming and ready to make things happen on the north side. And then DC, we see them in 2019, winning the World Series. So for me, I remember Harper reached out to me. Who else? I'm trying to think of Ryan Zimmerman.
Rendon, maybe?
Reached out to me. Rendon at the time, I feel like, because the Nationals had so many players, right, that were just on top, stacked on top of. The 2 guys that reached out then were Ryan Zimmerman and Harper. But Dusty called me and he was like, hey, man, we want you to come play right field. He was like, we want you to come play wherever you want to play, if it's right field, center field, whatever. But he was like, it's already written in the books. Like, we're going to win it all if you come over here and join what we got going on, because pitching staff's in place. We got the offense. You in right field with our defense and helping us play in our division. A lot of special things can happen. And, I really appreciated that from Dusty. He was honestly the only manager that I had a conversation with at that point in the process and called me up and said that. When you hear about signing somewhere, you want to hear World Series. You want to know that someone has confidence in the abilities of the team and with the direction the franchise is headed. But, of course, I had a decision to make, and I ended up choosing Chicago.
Sure. Well, in that scenario, were you going to play center field and have Harper staying right, or the conversation with Harper? What was that like? Was he going to move to center field? Like, take us through that.
So I don't think too many people have got to hear this, but for me, that was kind of a part of where there was some uncertainty, because Bryce hit me up saying that, hey, bro, like, would love to have you come play center field next to me in the outfield. Like, let's go win it all. And that's that's not a knock on him or anything like that. It's just, to me, there's just some miscommunication there. and where he's going to play. I mean, I think he's a guy that's already MVP in 2015. Him making a name for himself with multiple All-Stars on his way to a great career. And to me, you got to check in with him and see what he's okay with, because he's already in place. So at that time, I'm thinking, wait, if he thinks I'm playing center and Dusty thinks I'm playing right field, like I wonder what the GM thinks I'm doing, and then I wonder what I'm actually going to be doing and what's going to be okay. So that wasn't a deciding factor, but it was definitely something to be wary of when knowing you don't want to go into a clubhouse and have conflict with some of the guys that are already in place.
Well, when you think back
Good question.
on the trade with the Cardinals, I don't know if you did this or if other guys do this, but sometimes after a deal, your name is forever linked to the guys in those trades, and forever there's comparisons and talk. And do you follow that much of the guys that you were dealt with to go to St. Louis?
Well, I would say, Bobby, the thing is, ironically, Dansby Swanson is with my agent. He's with Victor Minical as well. And he's another Georgia kid that was drafted in the first round, but the Diamondbacks drafted him, and then of course the D-backs traded him to Atlanta for Shelby Miller. So the cool thing about that for me is that I can kind of share stories. I can share mindset with Dansby on what it's like to play in Atlanta, what it's like dealing with the front office, and so on. But otherwise, I don't really keep up too much. Jordan Walden, who was in that trade with me to St. Louis, one of the most electric arms I've seen out of the bullpen. He ran into some injury trouble, and that was kind of it for his career, unfortunately, with, relievers that can happen sometimes. But other than that, man, to me, the biggest thing about going to St. Louis is just the memories I made that year with that group. And then, of course, being on the bad side of it now, when talked about signing somewhere otherwise than St. Louis and signing on the north side of Chicago.
Right. Okay, I wanted to ask you one more on the Chicago Cubs, obviously, because that's where you are, and you go there, and it doesn't always work out that way. You sign in place, and then you win a World Series like that. That whole and it's well known, the conversation that you had, in extra innings when there was the rain delay about rallying your teammates in that situation. What can you tell us about that conversation now that you've had a couple of years to kind of think about it?
Yeah.
Did you say it exactly how you wanted to? Would you changed any words in there? Tell us about it.
I think I said it exactly how I wanted it to. I think I said it to the right group of people, man, because we were hit with a lot of challenges that year from spring training, from me signing there, from Zober signing there, and these guys were met with those challenges even when John Lester signed the year before. This is a team that was a 100-loss team in 2013, 2014. And then 2015, there's some expectation. So when I got over there, it was like, man, let's go win. This is what we're thinking about. Winning the World Series, that's it. But at the same time, let's have fun doing this. So me speaking to that group then, it was just a chance to reset and remind all of them that what we've come through with at that point. We won 103 games in the regular season. We came back against the San Francisco Giants and won that series in their ballpark, which is a tough team. It was an even year, as we know. That's what they do. They win big in the even years. So overcoming that hurdle and then being down to the LA Dodgers 2-1, going into their ballpark, coming back, being winning that series 3-2 in Game 6 and 4-2 in Game 6 at Wrigley. Just we've been tested a lot, and we enjoyed those challenges. So I just want to let everybody know that, look, we've done this before. This is where we are. Let's not look at this as any different situation. Let's go out here and have fun and play the game the way we know how to, and we'll see what happens.
One of the great parts about a championship season is, just the guys, the staff, the players, but just the reality hits you. Sometimes as soon as that series is over, even at the parade. Obviously, in the off season, guys start switching teams. This off season, you lost your manager to a new team. You have a new manager that you're probably very excited about, but you also lost a guy like Joe Madden. How does that feel as a player? How does that going to affect you guys going into this short season?
So personally, as a player, I feel like since coming in 2010, my first year, that was ironically Bobby Cox's last year, and seeing the accomplishments that he had achieved throughout his career as a GM and a manager, unbelievable. And then getting to see that up close in person, you saw every bit of why he was who he was to the game of baseball and the players that played for him. And now seeing Joe Madden, a guy who broke a 108-year curse, come and change the face of the franchise on the north side of Chicago, you don't see that too often, where that guy's not asked to come back. But at the same time, when you have a front office and management who is proactive and they want to make sure they're doing the best they can to cater to their players and the personnel they have in place, they want to make moves. They don't want to let things sit in place, and I understand it. And when they have an opportunity to bring in a David Ross, who's our manager now, this is somebody you talk about that's played on a lot of winning teams, a lot of losing teams. He's well covered in the realm of playing for great managers, playing on World Series teams, playing through some adversity. But he's also well versed on the guys in our clubhouse right now. And I think if you're going to make a change, and if you have the opportunity to do so, then you definitely send Joe off the right way, the best way you can. But if you need to make a change, I think David Ross is the guy to do so, because with this day and age, with the game getting younger, there being less veterans, around the clubhouse, I think you need somebody who's going to have that presence that can do all the above for the group in there.
You have the 2016 ring that you pulled away from Bobby Evans. We could have done that too.
No, yeah, we
you
didn't
got
go
the
there.
2014 ring on right there, right?
I'd like to take you back to the ninth inning.
Hey, that was something. That was an inning, and to us, honestly, that was like the beginning of our postseason run, mindset wise. Like, look, we can do this. It's not numbers. It's not going to take home runs. We got to do the small ball way at times, and that was just getting past that threshold. I'm telling you, that was like, all right, man. Like, probably much like you guys felt in 2010 in Atlanta. Like, that series was decided one run every game, but it was just unbelievable. And then I felt like once the Giants made it past us, then I was like, man, they're going to win it all.
Yeah, that one-run game at Wrigley, game one, I guess, was that game one off of Cueto, the home run?
Game one. I mean, basketball.
In the net.
Basketball,
yes.
like barely got out. And Javi, when he hit it, we're all like, okay, off the bat, yes, like that's the best contact made all night off Cueto. And then we see him standing in the box, we're like, all right, that's gone. And then we're like, wait a minute, come on now. And then it lands in the basket. So it was, I mean, oof, it was just like that ball better get out here, otherwise we weren't getting a chance against him.
That was a stomach punch.
That's crazy. That's crazy. All right. Well, thank you again. It's good to see you. Thanks for so much time. That was awesome. Yep.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yep.
I appreciate it, fellas.
Cool.
Anytime there's more in there. There's
Let's
a lot
keep
of
it going. Yeah.
Anytime you need me,
Yeah.
All right.
holler.
We'll come back to it for sure.
Sounds good.
All right, Jason.
All right, take it
good
easy,
to see you,
guys.
buddy. All right, man.